Today I have the honor of interviewing AWOL Da Mindwriter, a dope MC from Long Island, New York. He's a pioneer and thought leader in the field of nerdcore hip-hop. A lot of his music focuses on or has titles related to video games. Incredibly unique and versatile in his lyrical style. We're gonna bring him in and talk about his new album, his journey in music, and what he's working on next. Let's bring him in.
Peace, peace,
Peace. How you doing, my bro?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a pleasure, being here, man, today, being live. You know what I'm saying?
So much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dude, you're so dope. You're so unique. You're doing it like nobody else does it. I haven't heard another rapper out right now with your flow. It's dope. It's so cool. I have so many questions. You know what I'm saying? You have a new album that just came out a couple weeks ago. You're also a pioneer. Many would say the first artist in a genre that people refer to as nerdcore, right? And a lot of artists, a lot of people outside of that, like I know about nerdcore, right? And I love hip hop, but a lot of people don't know that much about that also. I'm trying to figure out where to start because you're so dope and interesting, you know what I mean? But I think maybe let's start there, right? Like, when you started doing music, did you find, like, talk to us about your style, the things you talk about in your music, how you reference video games, even the songs that aren't about video games, you reference like video game jargon, you know what I mean?
Right.
Talk to us about that and nerdcore and, what your role is and do you define yourself by that or do you just happen to be that, all those types of things.
Sure, let's get on to it.
Get into it. We're jumping right into the 8-foot part of the pool.
So let's see. First of all, I feel like I'm the first out of a lot of unknown, like not notarized talent or, oh, wow, that's my fault.
I know. I got one of these too if it can happen at any moment.
Exactly, right. But yeah, basically, there's a lot of like unnoticed. There are a lot of unnoticed, unnotarized artists, like nerdcore artists out there, and I feel like I'm doing it for them. There's cats like Benefit. Oh my God! I mean, I feel like in a sense, somewhat one way or another, even though it wasn't their lane, Cool Kids. The Cool Kids was part of that lane.
Yeah.
Oh my God! There's so many like people I can name right now. I mean, even, oh man, I feel like, honestly, as a nerdcore hip-hop artist, I love touching on, just video game jargon or video games in general. It's just a unique style. I don't know where I get it from. I guess, I don't know. Sometimes I question it myself, At one point in time, I didn't think it was even possible, and I was being turned down a lot. Oh, nobody want to hear that. And it's like my style is hardcore and nerdcore.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of realism involved. Like, so the jargon that I do, a lot of the stuff that you'll hear on records, obviously it's just, it's subliminals, but a lot of it, pertains to like, real life events and stuff of that nature. I feel like I can relate, or a lot of those video games, I was able to help relate into my life or my situations. And in a sense, I don't live the hardcore, street life. I'm not saying it, I'm not like downplaying for anyone that does.
Right.
But I live a certain lifestyle where basically, I'm not here to front. There's rappers and then there's MCs, and I like to categorize myself as an MC. Like I like to write. I don't like to entertain just to be funny and think. Like a lot of these stories are real. They're just so perplexed in a way that, you know, it's kind of like code. Like, this is not meant for everybody. This is just meant for like the nerds. So a lot of people that, you know, at one point heard it and probably didn't get it or don't get it is probably because you just don't understand. I mean, you know, and I think that's where a lot of that comes from too. Like, a lot of people don't understand me. So I think this is like the best way to help explain that I am not for you to understand all the time. Ooh. But if you can understand me, if we're eye to eye with each other, then we're here. You know what I mean? Really here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because that's where the eye really is. But,
yeah. I love that.
You know, like my conscious eye, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of that comes from. So if you can be conscious, if you have like an open and conscious mind, I feel like my stuff is made for you. Like, a lot of the stuff that I produce, you know, is made for specifically that crowd.
Yeah. No, that's good. And what's really cool about it is, like, the people who do get it, the people who do understand the terms, the jargon, you know, where it comes from, all the things that are nerdcore or video game culture, or a certain type of video game, like a certain era of games, right? The people who do get it, you're speaking to them, you know? And in hip hop, you see that. You see that in fashion, right? You see people, you know, dropping different types. You got Gucci Mane, you got the polo heads, you got, you know what I'm saying? You've got that. You've got street talk, New York street talk, LA street talk, right? You've got skateboard culture, right? You've got gang culture, right? And people who speak in, whether it's you know, Bloods, Crips, Latino gangs, they've got their terminology, right? And they're speaking to a genre. And in this case, you have your life experiences, and you've got dope albums like Sega AM2 Part 1 and 2, right? Insert Coin, Cheat Codes, NBA Jams, you know what I'm saying? And all of this stuff is like, yeah, there's a layer, but there's another layer, right? Like, so it's really, really dope what you're doing. And for the people who can relate to it on that other layer, it's really special for them.
I feel like to say this and be to say it with such subtle content, I feel like realistically, it's like to open a lane that either A, has never been opened before, or B, hasn't been open like wide enough. You know, again, there's a lot of people, like producers even, man, like, you know, that have come out with some amazing stuff. Even Ahmed Doom have touched on video game subjects. R.I.P. to the God, man. So it's like, you know, I feel like it's time for people, like, there's every culture has like some kind of subcategorized group, you know? And I feel like in hip hop, there are a lot of the groups like that, but I feel like I want to be able to like help recognize like where I come from, the world I come from. You know, like, I don't come from the street, but I've been around the street, and I've been more so in the books, and I put just two together the same way I put video games and music together, but it was already being done, but just not in a way and not in the fashion that I'm doing it. So I feel like I'm trying to help recognize like people like myself, J Hershey, you know, King NZ, Emmanuel, you know, like all those guys, the doppelgangers, you know, all those guys. A lot of these people don't, I feel like they're not spoken enough. They're not spoken much enough. And I feel like this is where I'm going to try to come in and push it through. You know what I mean? Like, so, and it's Sega all day, F Nintendo.
So you just dropped an album with J Hershey, a couple weeks ago, which was Sega AM2 Part 2, right? And that came out maybe 2 weeks ago. Talk to us about that new album.
Okay, so Sega AM2 Part 2, honestly, how can I say it? It's just, I have so many words to say that I'm at a loss for words, but I really wanted to, let's just break it down from the beginning. Originally, like 3 years ago, like before COVID really hit, I was actually in the midst of trying to drop a mixtape. I had just released Insert Coin. I just released Insert Coin. I kind of wanted to keep the ball rolling. I wanted to make sure that, you know, I still got the people's attention. And in January of 2020, both my grandparents were kind of like going out of commission.
Wow.
And literally by the end of the month, both of them within 3-4 days of each other passed away.
Sorry.
So I had a change of thought. I went through some personal hard times, man. And I was also, you know, I was in the middle of like moving, you know. There was a lot of things going on, so it's just this big transition of just life and everything else. So when I discussed trying to come up with a project with Hershey, I said, you know, I want to create something. This might be my Final Fantasy of it all, like, you know, and you know, if this works, this may work. If not, I don't know. I might fall back and whatever. We'll see what happens. And so I took the chance, man, and I didn't. It's just in between that process, it was a long but short process. And I remember, like, one of the songs we worked on, man, G Rogan, which is crazy. That was done inside the studio, like in person. It was just out of nowhere, like just sporadic, and it was a great moment. And honestly, it was moments like that had me like, all right, I want to build a project. I really want to solidify this. But however, in between, you know, the release of one, you know, I was just not in between. Around the time of trying to put out one, I had hired a mixing engineer. Yeah. And honestly, it took him over almost a year to do the job, and literally had multiple opportunities to do it. And so once I gave that up, because it was originally supposed to be pressed out in 2020, it came out in 2021 instead. But there were a lot of things that we needed to still, you know, fix and everything. But in between that, like, I had gone through a car accident. Wow. I almost died trying to release Sega AM1 or Sega AM2. So. Wow. And it's been crazy, you know, like, you know, and that's why in the second in part 2 you see the scar, because I never had anything, and that was just to resemble my, like, the process, the life and death process, because the project almost died, like both Sega AM1 and 2, and I literally almost died. Wow. You know, and it was, and Sega AM1 was never gonna come out, almost never came out, and Sega AM2 was just literally, it was the squeeze through, man. I'm so I put so much, like, so much energy into that. It was just so much pain, and I don't know, man. A lot of, like, for example, you know, in the middle of working on Sega AM2 Part 2, the first song I recorded that I rehearsed out of my coma was NBA Jam. Wow. Literally, like, I just lost my spleen. My hand is like completely destroyed. My leg is destroyed. Like, wow. I was done. You know, and I'm literally in a hospital bed with a tube down my throat rehearsing, say, NBA Jam. And I don't know how, to this day, I talk about it like, I don't know how I was able to do it, but I did it. And I feel like the album's purpose was to show people that to never give up. And I'm one to never give up. I'm not a fighter, but I am a fighter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I like to put up a good fight. And I feel like this fought all the way through, all out of everything that I'd gone through. This made it through. Like, I won the fight. Wow. And there's many more fights to win until, you know? Yeah. I know you got the fight in you. I'm sorry you went through all that, and thank you for sharing it. Yeah, it's you know, those types of stories really give your fans and people who listen to the new album Sega AM2 like a whole different context of what the artist was going through. You know what I'm saying? And that's amazing, and what a triumph to, you know, release such a dope album after such a tough accident and a road to recovery, you know? Wow.
The you know, this is the second time you've worked with J Hershey, but you mentioned G and Rogan. Who is G and Rogan?
G Rogan is basically G Rogan is basically AWOL Da Mindwriter and Emmanuel. And like when G Rogan was developed, I really didn't think that I could do a song with E-Man. I mean, I think we've done a song or so in the past, and we tried to work together. It was a strengthy process, and there was just a lot of time confliction. And when we were in the studio, I remember the moment just looking at him after, like, because we were just trying to see how was this song going to work, how was it going to pull through. We didn't think it was like the whole back and forth, Styles P and J that was gonna. I didn't think of that at the time. I just said, you know what, I'm gonna spit a line, you spit a line, we'll just do it that way. And I remember like writing like halfway through my verse, I'm like, I'm gonna try to split this couple bars each. And doing that, everything was like just doing that. I remember recording my first verse, and that first part was like, when we heard it, we're like, oh yeah. Then when we heard E-Man's part, then after finishing the fucking song was like, oh, what the fuck was that? Yo, I remember bugging out, and we were playing it like all throughout the halls in the studio. We didn't care who had sessions, who didn't have sessions, who was sleeping. We didn't give a shit, man. We just partied,
just blasted it.
Blasting it, man, and it gave us motivation to not only fulfill the project, but that also started G and Rogan. And I mean, we didn't come out right now. We're working on a project. Well, like it's there's a lot of things that we're working on. But now, since we're on that topic, there's a G and Rogan project coming soon. So we asked the people, just chill. You know what I mean? Pause until we ask you to resume.
There it is. It's coming. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, he's on right now. Peace, Rogan.
There he is. Salute. The new G Rogan project will be coming. Do you think that's dropping in 2023, or is it a 2024 project?
I mean, I'm gonna just say this. Time will tell. You just gotta just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep playing the high score. Keep playing to the high score, guys. I promise you. You get the high score, you'll find out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's dope. And then you're part of another kind of like super group, the Divine Nine. Talk to us about that group.
I was part of the group. I no longer am part of the group. As a matter of fact, it's been a crazy time. Like, that group was originally made. It's made as a collective.
Yeah.
For different kind of artists, like such as because that's actually where I met Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Or Rogan. I met Rogan. I met Johnny Numero. You know what I'm saying? There's so many artists, man. Like from that group, but eventually, things kind of slowed down, and obviously I wasn't gonna stick around for the slowpoke, but and before all that or really came to a halt, what really pushed the envelope was my man B-Rap. He wasn't in the group, but he was part of the group, like the spirit of the group, and one of the main spirits, and due to his untimely passing, R.I.P. B-Rap, man, every day, man.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that I went through as well, that also put a lot of pain and soul into Sega AM1 and 2.
Yeah.
It was the fact that I lost my friend, and I had just gone through something so tragic, so traumatic, and I'm like trying to fight through, and then I find out literally on Valentine's Day that he passed away. So, I for the longest time, I tried to, after that, I just didn't want nothing to do with them anymore, because one, they didn't see the process. They didn't see what I was trying to do, except for the names I mentioned, and that's kind of why they fell back. Well, that's not because of me, but they didn't see what they wanted to see, and I didn't see what nothing was accomplished that we wanted. So except maybe music and maybe a couple tours and shows.
Yeah.
But I do wish them the best of luck because like one thing about me, I don't ever like to forget my beginnings.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I'm here today. So that's exactly why all of us are here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's dope, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Normally when I start off interviews, I follow a specific format, and I kind of jumped around today because you're so dope, and I just wanted to jump right in. I was like, let's talk about nerdcore, right? You know what I mean? But what I always like to do is, especially when I have the artist right there, there it is. I always like to, talk about, how an artist started getting involved in music. Like, did they have a musical background in their family? Did you have like some early rap groups? Because see, you show up on the digital streaming platforms in 2019 with Insert Coin, but you've been rapping for a long time before that, right? And those things you gotta kind of dig and start going into like the older sites, like the Reverb Nations and the MySpaces, digging around. I was digging around. Digging around, there's a whole early part of your career that's not captured on the current mediums that people are really streaming music on. So if you could share with us a bit of like how you got involved in music, hip hop, that early part of your career.
Okay. In the very beginning, this is like 2005.
Yeah.
I had just like lost my June 2005, so about 18 years ago, June 25th, 2005, I lost my mom's. And before that, I wanted to rap, and I had aspirations of trying to rap, and I was rapping, but not really how I wanted it to sound, or I thought I wanted to sound. Yeah. And so my mom passed, and I feel like it was time for me to start not taking it seriously, but I was already kind of doing things to show initiative, and it worked. And I feel like it was towards maybe around like the end of 2005, 2006, I wrote my first song, Final Frontier NYC Remix. Yeah, a lot of people don't know I was a big, and still am, I mean, even though they're no longer around like that right now. Yeah, I'm a big Def Jux fan. I to this day I say it like I wear it like a badge. I love Def Jux. Like that's the label I wanted to be signed to. Yeah. And still, if it was still a possibility, I want to be signed to, because LP I figured was and still am. I still do think he's a genius. Yeah, and his sound is so unique. Even what he's doing with Run the Jewels right now, it's different. He's different. See, no one knows about the Cold Flow days and shit, but I got tapped in really about, from like, I was really a big fan of Cannibal Ox. So I feel like around that time I was trying to find myself, and when that song came out, because I was really a big RJD2 fan. Yeah. When that's, and that's there, and ASAP Rock, and Murs, especially Murs. Yeah. Shout out to Murs, man. That's yo. But when I heard the remix, I remember hearing the actual song, and I'm like, man, fuck this shit. This shit is whack. This shit sounds whack. Then I go to school like the next morning, and I just play it on my PSP. I'm like, yeah, this shit is kind of hard. I don't know why I slept on it. Yeah. But I'm like, yo, I need to find a beat to this shit. I ended up writing it. And I had so many trials of my first verse. I was cursing like a sailor on my first verse. Right. So I tossed it. I went to the studio, shout out Great Neck Levels. That's actually my starting point, Great Neck Levels. The first studio. Yeah, shout out Ethan Man and Chris Bauman, and you know what I mean, and Zach. Oh my God, shout out to Zach. Zach Morris. But yeah, I met these guys in Great Neck in my hometown. You know, I needed a studio, and I knew shit was gonna come free. Well, they came free, but I didn't think, you know, I just needed somewhere to record. My brother at the time, like, was trying to build a studio or trying to find studios like he can work out of, or because he was a producer engineer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I recorded the song, and I had to edit my verse. And 6 months later, I finally came out with the song, and then I performed it. And then after performing it in front of like 60 people, I then like maybe like a month or two later performed it in front of 300 people.
Wow.
And, you know, so then I really like, oh yeah, this shit's about to get serious. Like,
yeah,
I think I have something. But I knew I had something, but I just wanted to push and see if this one song might make or break it. And I felt like throughout the journey, like, you know, like I had gone through a lot of shit, like with studios and engineers and a lot of, like, you know, it's a lot of trials and tribulations, man. Like, everyone goes through it, man. I don't know not one artist that has not gone through a hassle with recording. And I know for the people that watch it, I know you know what I'm talking about. So peace to all y'all. But yeah, man, I went through everything, man. I feel like a lot of people, like, they wanted this image of me and they weren't getting it. And I think that's what also started the Sega thing too, because I wasn't speaking of things like that. I wasn't speaking of things. I thought that was just too corny of a topic or something to talk about. I was more, when I started, I was more of a real conscious rapper. I wanted to talk about, like, the real life things that no one else is talking about. We're talking about the gold chain era, like '06 era, like, you know, when no one gives a fuck about like that. Well, people did, but you know, whatever was presented to you was the next best thing.
That's right.
You know, and I felt like I never just fit into just any box, man. I was always an outside of the box kind of guy. I even said it in NBA Jam, man. No, you know what I mean? I'm into dumb niggas. I'm a weirdo, listening to weird tunes, wearing all these weird clothes, but come up with these,
Yeah.
And it's real shit because I fucked with people. It's like, I don't know where people would think that I was just trash.
Yeah.
Like, you would hear me rap and still just shit on me. I'd be like, it's fine, you know, like, I'm a humble guy. Like, and then you would hear me rap like something else, or you might have heard me in a song, or you might have heard somebody, you know, talk about me, and then you're like, oh, let me hear what he's really
Let me go back and listen.
Right. And then I feel like I caught people that way too, like a lot of my attention that way. So, you know, like, it's been a lot of trials, man. Like, I went through a lot of process, like, you know, like a lot of process to be here today. And to be honest with you, I thank everybody for putting me through that process, because if everything was easy, I would be thinking this shit is easy right now, because this shit was not easy.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm very grateful to, you know, and I'm still grateful for what lies ahead, you know?
Yeah.
We don't, like, give, you know, ourselves that much that kind of credit, the good and the bad, because there's both sides. There's always two sides to a tape. I'm looking at it right now. You know what I mean?
That's right. So, you know, and thanks for sharing that background on the story and the early studio days. When you get to what you have currently on, you know, insert coin, like the sampler, right? You're at that point, you're already kind of in the era in which you're in, where you're actively talking about the types of things you're talking about. You've got, like, the song Cheat Codes, right? You've got the opening track on Insert Coins. I'm trying to remember the name, but it's like
Return of the Death Egg.
Yeah,
Return of the Death Egg. Yeah.
Egg, right? All these things are so cool because they're video game jargon, right? It's all video game jargon. But Cheat Codes is actually about relationships.
Well, let's talk about that. So a lot of people don't understand. So throughout the process of me recording, I was going through a lot of turmoil, like, with studios. People didn't want to hear me. So a lot of these songs, and I had gone through, like, a relationship hiatus. So I say around like 2011, 2012, I took a break. Like, around 2012 and then onward, I took a break. So, I mean, I was trying to still work and go into studios. A lot of those songs were not that old, but pretty old. I just either rehearsed them or just rewrote them a certain way, and I would just keep writing, man. So when Insert Coin came out, that took like a 4 or 5 year process.
Yeah.
And when I released it, I didn't think that, you know, the turnout was going to be so ill. I mean, I was getting love from J57. Shout out to Brown Bag All Stars. I was getting love from everybody, man. There's a lot of people that I didn't think that record was going to pop off the way it did. First of all, how Doppelgangers and I even got together. I've been messing with Doppelgangers for like, damn, man, like since 2009, 2010, like since I was going since SAE college days, like, you know, and at the time, like, you know, I always wanted to do a project with them, and when the opportunity came, I just took it. I mean, it was just more of like me rapping on a lot of their beats, and then except maybe 1 or 2 of their beats that no one, So, and then the fact that I was even blessed in between the 4 or 5 year process of recording, especially I was blessed by EP of the Doppelgangers because he blessed me with a verse. Not a verse. He blessed me with a feature, you know. And I feel like the time from Insert Coin, that took all that process, and it was time for a newer process, the new one. I have a whole bunch of unreleased material, even some like, you know, loose songs and stuff, like just floating around to kind of like let you know, like, or update you on the, you know, on me. Yeah. And I feel like as well, the solidified projects that come out, like my first 2 EPs and then now my LP, it's just to show you now where I'm at and where I'm going thus far. Like, there's no more like a hiatus dips, and I'm here now. I'm here. You want me to rap? I'm here. Yeah. I'm finally here. Yeah. I don't care if you want to hear it or not. It's coming. Yeah, exactly. The wave is coming. That's what's up, bro. Yeah. So there's your style, right? I'm not sure that I can compare it to any other artist. It's incredibly unique and dope. Your name is an acronym. AWOL is an acronym, and AWOL Da Mindwriter has a meaning. Can you tell us what the name means and what the Mindwriter means? Okay, AWOL originally meant always out of line. Yeah. And then I eventually became I guess after dropping or after working on Final Frontier, I became the aggressive writer, because a lot of the stuff I was dropping afterwards was just a lot of aggressive. It's like fight music. Yeah. The Mindwriter came from, well, the opposite of mind reader. I'm just you know, I have the ability to formulate songs. I wouldn't say on the fly, but things are like pre-written, like in my head, and somehow I'm able to not print it back on paper, but if I can't get it verbatim, like, you know, how I want it, it's some way or another I get it almost exactly on the dial, and it still comes out the same. For example, the same. If you listen to 91% on Insert Coin, yeah. If you listen to the record, which has the same dope cover. The cover is so dope. Of 91%. I clicked. Hey. Facts. Well, you're welcome, man. I hope you enjoyed it, because I did. Thank you. I did making it, but if you listen to if you listen to 91%, that exact style, like I formulated that style, but it wasn't even when I wrote this song out like years before it got finally actually recorded. I remember like I only had like maybe a 12. Like I didn't have really much, or maybe 8. I can't remember verbatim. But not a right. It was like a snippet. I think I have the snippet actually still, ironically, on my Reverb Nation. Yeah. But it was a snippet, but I had to, you know, because I just wanted to make sure like I sounded good on the record, You know, I wanted to make sure that I got people's not approval, but their ears like approved. Like, all right. And some people like the snippet. So in between, like maybe this is 2012, 2013 when I played this, when I made and played the snippet.
Yeah.
And the song dropped in 2016.
Wow. So
I was working hard on my flow, and I feel like listening to a lot of people like Sean Price, R.I.P., you know, Prodigy, you know, a lot. I listen to a lot of old school stuff, man. Old school underground stuff. Like I listen to Buckshot, I listen to like any and everything. You know, I have a really eclectic ear, so you know, it's like I feel like, you know, I'm like the Raw of this rap shit. You know, I could like kind of like read people's styles and then formulate my own. You know, I'm the Raw of virtual fighter of this rap shit. You know,
that's dope.
You know, not the Shao Kahn, but you know, almost.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
So do you write the songs completely in your head and then record them that way, or do you put them on paper?
There are a lot of times I've definitely either done some shit halfway on the fly, or a lot of the times on paper. Yeah, that's what, you know. Yeah, being a writer, you know. I'm the mind writer, man. I'm the guy that is able to write, you know, through means of word processing. Except, you know, it's like a flash. Sometimes it takes me a minute to write a song. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. It takes 9 months to make a baby. Ooh. Do you question guys fucking miracles? I think not.
Wow. No, that's good. That's good. And the thing that I really like that you explained is how, you know, you'll have songs, but you work on the flow. Because that's what you have that I think is incredibly unique is your flow, right? It's 100% unique and real dope. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't think of anybody else. The closest thing I could think of anybody I've ever heard that has that type of unique type of flow is maybe something like early leaders of the new school, something like that. You know what I'm saying? But not now. Nobody now. It's you. You've got that. You know what I'm saying? You're carrying that torch that is so desperately needed. That authenticity, that originality and flow. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope.
I feel like to tap on that, yo, you gotta think our forefathers, man. They built this shit. This is what they wanted. I'm not one to, like, you know, to kiss ass, but we have a job. Yeah. All of us. As in this game, all of us. Whether you're a graffiti artist, whether you're a b-boy artist, or b-boy dancer, or b-girl dancer, you know what I'm saying? Like, whether you're a fashion designer, you know what I'm saying? Like, an MC or D, we have a job. Yeah. And I feel like it's our job to help, like, fulfill what our forefathers pushed and were being pushed back in the first place. And a lot of people don't see that shit, man. Look around you, man. Like, hip hop fascinated the entire fucking world. Yeah. And at one point in time, you see it in movies, you see it in the old movies and the new movies, how downplayed hip hop really was. Yeah. I even remember those days. I remember being talked to like, rap ain't going nowhere. As a kid, why do you listen to this shit? Nobody wants to hear this bibbity rap shit. I remember hearing this shit from people. That's right. White, black, Spanish, whoever. Like, yo. Right. And now look at it. We 50 years in. Ooh. I dropped the album on the 50th year of hip hop. Like, a lot of people before us have made like hits, legends, and a lot of the songs that people have once negated, you end up repeating anyway, motherfuckers. Yeah. Like, or saying that you know without you even thinking about it. So yeah, hip hop embraced everything around us and fascinated everything around us. So I feel like it's my job as a songwriter, as a hip hop artist, and I guess you could say as a student and a pioneer, or up and coming pioneer.
Yeah.
I think it's our job to help give back to the people that either have lost it,
yeah,
or don't want it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, listen, man. To me, if anyone's familiar with this shit, my life is just Jet Grind Radio, Jet Set Radio Future, and this is Jet Set Radio Future right now.
Ooh. That's good.
And I'm fighting big. I mean, I'm not fighting big corps, but I'm fighting the big ups, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. And what's interesting is that like you find hip hop now and everything from like McDonald's commercials to in video games. You know, there's actually scores in video games for a long time now with actual hip hop tracks. That they create scores like they do movies, and sometimes they get original music from hip hop artists. I think that your music would be perfect for a lot of video games out there. Have you ever had the chance to like get a track, or have you thought about like trying to get your music into video games, especially given, your love for video games?
Actually, yes. Let's just say that for starters, I tapped into my man Sega Masterton from Australia. Shout out to Sega Masterton.
Yeah.
He actually he used to work for the hotlines for Sega.
Wow.
And he also worked for I believe the Sega R&D department, which is really AM2. And a lot of people don't realize, like, I met these guys off of the people like him and Sin Spacey's off of the whim of the internet, but just actually talking to people like Sega Masterton and you know, like, there's a dude that that's writing that had a magazine or has a magazine out called Sega Mania Magazine, and he was fascinated, and he writes a lot about the history of Sega and tries to tap into re-release things that if these were the 90s all over again.
Yeah. And
I tapped into cats like, voice actors like Leslie Wilkinson, the chick that does Sarah Bryant from Virtua Fighter.
Okay.
I spoke with a little bit with Eric Kelso, who does Jackie, her brother.
Wow.
So I'm really kind of tapped in, like
deep
low key,
in the network of
like this is not like a lot of people think this is just gimmicks. This is not a gimmicky thing.
Yeah.
This is literally my life. Like I'm tapped in. This is like my love. This is why I'm here. This is why we're here, because we love something. That's right. And we're expressing our love, whether it's audible or visual. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like, no one expresses themselves. Maybe, and if we do, like Westside Gunn expressed himself with wrestling. LP did it in such a way where he expressed himself. I can't even begin. I feel like he was like, I've always felt like he could be like a spy or a secret agent or some shit, like low key. Yeah. Like, if we were like a rebellion or some shit, I'd be part of his rebellion kind of shit. Yeah. Like we have something like unique. We just gotta just find our niche and once we find our niche, we have to be able to express it in at least the best and most harmless way possible. That's good. Because art sometimes does kill. Ooh.
You're a producer also. You make beats. But the album that you did now is produced by J Hershey. Have you thought about doing a self-produced album?
No, I don't produce beats. However, I do got this dude who I did basically I guess you could say I found, and I mentored a little bit, from a little bit of my background. I went to I have this guy named Drive Mega, and actually Drive Mega he's something else, man. Like sometimes he surpasses me, like he surpasses the fuck out of me, like, oh shit. Like I honestly working around or being around Drive Mega helped me as an artist in general. It helped, like I didn't think that Drive Mega would have such a sound that I'll be into. Yeah. And it helped, like, like he's actually on the first the first song of the project, and on the second to last song of the project. So he's on the title screen, and then he's on he's featuring on Character Select.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is basically that's why in the very beginning, if you listen to the song, you got my man Q11. Shout out to Q11. My man Lily introduced Mega Hershey,
Wow.
or Mega Hirsch.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the
So
yeah, it's a little,
that's good.
Dream team over here, baby. 7 Emeralds.
That's good. So given that you're so knowledgeable and into video games, video game culture, right? I think people are probably curious, like, what are your favorite gaming systems? What are your favorite games? What is it that, that the connoisseur is into?
Holy shit. Let's talk about it. Shit. I'm staring in front of some right now. Sega Genesis. Well, I have all three. The Model 2, the original Mini, and the Mini 2. I have a Switch. I have a PS4. I have a Sega Saturn, a Sega Dreamcast. Oh man! And some systems just kind of fell throughout the years, kind of either gave them away or sold them. Yeah. I owned it, as much as I say, and I'm going to just admit it now, fuck Nintendo. As much as I say it, fuck Nintendo, I own Nintendo systems. So I'm a gamer. So regardless of the Sega, it's still a Sega, fuck Nintendo all day. But I'm a gamer. Sega doesn't make any systems anymore. It's okay. Maybe one day they come back. Maybe. Or did they come back already? That's the better question. Because they've been coming back with the retro shit, but a lot of the games I play that I play really anything, man. I mean, I'm an arcade gamer too, and I mean that's where a lot of my spirit comes from too. That the arcade gaming noise is just that shit is amazing, man. I mean, walking into Nathan's back in the day, and going into places like Barcode and before it got shut down in Manhattan, places like that, like I like. I feel like that's home. And now that they're coming out with all these small little game shops and like these little arcade shops and these retro gaming stores, it's like almost amazing. Like anything that's not Funkoland or wasn't Funkoland or isn't GameStop, I feel like you're bringing the culture back to what it once was. The mom and pop shops. You used to walk into a spot and spend like 40, 50, 60 bucks. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or you used to play whatever games they had then like there, and you used to wait online. That's a lot of my music, man. It kind of it draws me back to that time because it's where it's most comfortable. And I feel like if you're not making music or doing anything that makes you comfortable, it's like, what are you doing? You're just living, because at that point you're just wasting time. You're just living for everyone else. So another reason why I stuck on the Sega thing, and not I stuck on, but stick to. Yeah. It's just my childhood, man. Like, this kept me in the house. Like, this, besides hip-hop, saved my life. Yeah. Like, it did. Like, I didn't end up, like, messed up, man. I didn't end up dead.
Shot. Right?
Killed, like, and, you spend a lot of time in the street, man, until something happens. Get caught up. Yeah. And trust me, man, idolization is the devil's playground. So I don't, and as much as I was enjoying, the fruits of my labor at the time, you get tired of that shit because then you realize, like, no one really fucks with you, especially when no one really gets you anyway. Why force people to try to get you? And then eventually, like, when I gave up on it, people started fucking with me anyway. Yeah. So it was like, well, I didn't need to be. I don't need to be. Like, so I just, yeah. If you hear about me, it's probably because that something actually happened. But if you don't hear about it anymore, it's because this conversation, it's growth. I leveled up, man. That's right. From level 1 and now I'm level 50. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Exactly. So for the people who are less familiar and who maybe come across this, it's probably valuable. So you said Sega's not making consoles anymore, but there's like those retro, like the Naomi. I think it's like the retro gaming systems.
Hey, Naomi, that's crazy. Nah, it's crazy you said that.
Right.
That's so crazy you said that. That's Nerdcore shit
Right.
there.
Right.
Nah.
And the ones that have like all the gaming systems in one, and you could like do all that different stuff, right?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Beforehand, like, I guess I'm gonna explain to people how much of a nerd I am.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like a few years ago, my brother and I, or my brother really, my brother Troy, he actually downloaded, and that's the producer dude, and makes he's a prop. Shout out Troy. But back in those, like a few years back, like maybe like a decade ago, before it became a thing, we were already downloading. Like we had like an arcade-based computer, which is our computer, which is for music and whatever. Yeah. We had some shit called I think it was Hyperspin or some shit like that. I think I have it. Hyperspin. It's my hard drive actually. And literally every game known to man you can play, like from any system, any arcade, anything. So I feel like Sega came back with that to like, because they already were coming out with third-party systems with games. And
yeah.
They weren't they were licensed, but they weren't actual like real. It wasn't coming from Sega. It was just licensed by, but being sold right. And I feel like now they're re-releasing it because of people like me. Right. I feel like the people have spoken, man. Like you get tired of the new shit after a while. I play old shit all the time. Like I'm so Sega. I'm so Sega. I wish I had my shit on me right now.
Yeah.
But I'm so Sega that I literally have a fucking Sega Saturn wireless controller, and I play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate on my Switch with it.
Wow.
And I fuck people up on it.
Wow.
It has no C button, no nothing. It's just regular 8-button controller with two trigger left and right triggers.
Yeah.
No Z, no nothing. I'm still whooping ass. Woo! So I feel like Sega's coming back in a big way. Even if they're not releasing consoles, they're trying to push like what they had and what they could have. Like it's like you're not pushing any new product, but you're underselling your old product for a newer crowd.
Yeah.
For like newer people.
Yeah.
Or people that have never played Sega.
They're leaving money on the table and future growth also, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's coming back in a big way because they're coming out with the Astro City arcade systems now. You know how expensive those shits are?
Nah.
Those shits are expensive.
Wow.
Look up Astro City when you get a chance. For anyone that is interested, look up Astro City arcade systems.
Okay.
Those things are like expensive, and they're like the original Japanese. If you go inside of like like an old Japanese arcade spot, and you see like the whole setup with the small little bar stool. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, right? But I'm geeking out all the way now. So you take Nintendo, right? And they've got like intellectual property like Mario Brothers and Zelda, right? But Sega had a lot of dope intellectual property. They had a lot of really cool games. Who owns that? Does Sega own all that, or do independent companies like Konami and those type of people, do they own, what I'm trying to figure out is why they're not doing what Nintendo has done with taking it into movies and taking it into other forms of ways of using the intellectual property that they have with these characters, right? Sega's got all these characters and all these games that people know about that are established. Are they just sitting there? What happened to that stuff?
Are we talking about like as far as like Sega, like the games, the characters? Because I can tell you right now, certain games, there's a lot of games that like Sega has what I like to call like they have superstars. Yeah. Like the all-star crowd. You have Sonic, which is the leader. Like Sonic of all the leader of all leads. Then you have Golden Axe, and you have Oh my God, I can name so many games, but like the hard hitters, like Knights. You got House of the Dead, which is, one of my favorite shooting games or arcade games of all time. You have like shit, man. You have like a shit ton of characters. Daytona USA.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these games or a lot of these, I feel like they're gonna eventually do something of it with maybe in movies, film.
Yeah.
I know that they started shooting some shit with Sonic recently as far as the TV series. They're starting like a series with Knuckles, which is cool because it blends in with like a lot of the shit, and I blend into the third movie. Yeah. But I did hear of some back talk, that there might be a new House of the Dead, either movie and or film. I know they're coming out. They were talking about coming out with a lot of like TV produced, stuff. This is like years back, but I haven't heard any news except maybe the Knuckles TV series and maybe Sonic Prime, of course. But I know they're working on things, but I think as far as intellectual properties, they have their hands on a lot of stuff, such as books. Like I got one right now, and it's called what is it? It's called the Sega video game, like Sega arcade history. Yeah, and basically it details not only Sega's actual back history before, during, and after, but it talks about its collaborations with Atari, cool, Sega. Nintendo. It talks about these things because Nintendo actually at one point in time needed licensing for an arcade game. I forgot. I can't think of which. I think it was. There was something, I think, either with Gremlin or some shit like that, where they needed permissions or whatever, and that was the first time out of many other times
they had to work together.
Right. And a lot of people think that Sega got bought out by Nintendo. Well, this is the things I hear now. No, man, they're literally its own. They are their own individual companies. Like they're their own entities. However, they have worked together, but and even now they work together based on Sega's failure to produce any mass hardware. It doesn't mean that they didn't stop with their software, because a lot of software was implemented and still has been and still is implemented into a lot of these technologies today, such as Virtual Fighter. No one knew this, and no one knows this. I spoke this just the other day. The engine from Virtual Fighter, which is from Naomi, right? If they didn't grab that, if they didn't have that engine, a lot of games like Dead or Alive or Tekken, let's per se, from Namco, they wouldn't have that engine if it weren't for Sega. So you got to thank Sega for that. Sega created a lot of avenues, and low key, it kind of saved Atari's ass. There was I think Pong, in the game Pong. I think it was some Sega, I believe, like developed, or somebody from Sega, or it was somebody from, I think, some company. They had Sega redevelop Pong because, like, after a while it was crashing on Atari systems, so they re-released it on certain systems and whatever else. And I think when Sega released it on their board, there was a certain specific circuitry or whatever, or circuit board and circuitry that they used.
Interesting.
So it can keep it from burning out, like unlike Atari's circuit board, which was purchased by Magnavox.
Ooh, so that
I know my shit. I can die.
It goes deep. So
I can go ahead. Like,
your new album is called Sega AM2, right? It's a part 2. What is AM2, right? Because everybody knows Sega. A lot of people don't know AM2. What is that?
Amusements. But in this case, AWOL Da Mindwriter.
Ooh.
So part 1 was like it details like the transition of, like, I didn't know where I was going to where I think I have an idea, then life was almost cut short. Yeah. And then it rewound again, and kicked up
Respawn.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm basically like Sonic dashing all over the fucking place.
Now, in addition to your music, you've got some dope music videos, right? And one of the ones that I grabbed the clip from was Screaming Down the Block, right? Which is really dope music video. And you've got like the video game gun in it, and it's real cool. Reminiscent of LP Def Jux on the Metro, right? Do you have any, because you just released the album 2 weeks ago, the new album. Do you have any new videos that you're thinking about releasing?
Yeah. I have some, like, I don't want to disclose, like, let's just say that if you really got in touch, this one specific song, and I don't want to say too much. Yeah. I don't want to surprise the folks. There's one specific song on the project that I'm not cursing at all.
Okay.
That might be the new video. So.
Ooh, all right. So go listen to it once, twice, 3 times to see if y'all can find that song and figure out. You gave us an egg, right?
Yeah, I like doing that. It's not even Easter.
Exactly. Like, give a little Easter egg in there. So that's dope, my brother. I celebrate your career, my man. You're completely a unique artist, really touching on content in a subgenre and nerdcore that people aren't. You're dope. New album is out now. New video coming, right? So you kind of gave a Easter egg as to what the new song may be. For people who want to, keep up to date with you and follow your journey in music, what are the best places that you live online for people to reach out to you if they want to send you beats, or people want to featuring, if they want to hit you up to perform somewhere, or if they just want to keep in contact with you and follow you on social media? What are the best places where you live online?
The best place is to catch me on Instagram at AWOL Da Mindwriter. You see it on top, and you heard it here first. And you can catch me on Twitter, AWOL Mindwriter. You can find me on Facebook now, and you can also find me just wherever you can find AWOL Da Mindwriter or Kid Sega. And let's not forget, guys, I have a show this Friday in the Bronx, in the birthplace of hip hop.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Accent. Shout out to God Bless for even giving me the opportunity, and we're gonna rock it. So if you're not doing anything, pop out on Friday, man. We're gonna have a good ass time. There's gonna be some knives, there's gonna be some trees. You know what I'm saying? And you get to see me and J Hershey.
Yeah. Yeah. So the show is this Friday in the Bronx. Where in the Bronx? And how do people, do they pay at the door? Is there a place to get tickets? All that type of stuff.
I believe you pay at the door. I think it's a free event. I'm sorry, it's a free event. Good. So please, it's at Zambona Aroma, I believe. Zambona Aroma. I can't get the name right all the time. Like I've been messing it up a couple of days, but Zambona Aroma is in the Bronx. So if you're coming through, please, show us some love, and we'll throw it right back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll have ourselves a good ass time, and your shit. You might even see me throw a chair. It's like, thank you, folks. Oh shit. You know what I'm saying? And as well as you don't get to just see me in the Bronx. You get to see a whole bunch of other amazing artists. You know what I'm saying? With a whole bunch of producers, whole bunch of MCs. Friday, it's gonna be a night of hip hop.
That's dope. That's dope, my brother.
And I also have a show as well on the 21st at Secret Pour on the A-List Showcase. Shout out to Cut Supreme. Happy birthday, by the way, and also A Sharp. So shout out to them too. And yeah, man, I would love to see. I want you to see me live. Come see me live. I would love to give you a show and show you what I'm about.
That's dope.
This is hip hop, man. Everything else don't matter.
Yeah, that's dope, my brother. Hey, my bro, thank you so much for the time, for the new album, for all your contributions to hip hop, the uniqueness of your style, and in the subgenre in which you're just crushing it. I've truly enjoyed listening to your discography, and I can't wait to see what else is yet to come, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I appreciate you for having me on here, and I thank you guys for any and everybody that tuned in, thank you for tuning in, man. Like, I appreciate y'all. And for all, like, you know, all the hip-hop artists that I love, admired, and still admire and listen to, thank you.
Yeah.
And from the bottom of my heart, and even just hip-hop artists, from every singer, every songwriter, every producer, I don't care what genre it is, you know, shout out to Sun Stoney and you know, people like her. It's like, no matter who, please keep doing what you're doing because you inspire me, and thank you. Because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thank you, my brother.
Segler.
Salute.
Peace. It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Peace.
Peace.